Welcome back. We'll talk about the Cleveland Browns in just a second, but first, this is Jordan Kilganon out here coming up with dunks. He calls this the roll dunk.
Oh, he might have invented a dunk. That is hard to do these days.
I thought dude had made a mistake. I was like, what's going on here?
I think he invented a dunk.
Nice job, too, taking your shirt off. Got a decent little body there. Yeah, he got a 4-pack. I guess the other two are on layaway.
Oh.
All right, this is the high-flying Jordan Sutherland going under both legs for this dunk. Kept his shirt on, though.
Oh, that's a nice gym he's playing at, too. A little glass right there. You see Carmelo, he's on the other end doing defensive drills.
You know what?
No,
there's no reason to slander Carmelo. Future first ballot Hall of Famer.
How else we going to get him in the news?
Well, listen, he's going to work with Giannis on that mid-range.
He was cited in Tribeca looking for a place.
Little Division II baseball, Tampa's Danny Blair going full extension.
Okay, now this was a great catch. I'm so sorry yesterday because I got on the players and everything, but this is college. This is not pro, but this is professional level. Horizontal, matching the ground. Check them out. Oh, and that's a stat.
It's a lefty. Was that a lefty at the plate?
Yeah, that means the ball spinning the other way.
There you go.
Spinning away from the center fielder.
That's you
my
go.
guy.
There you go.
Learning. That boy.
To the NFL now.
Smart.
After skipping most of the Browns' voluntary OTA workouts the last 2 weeks, to the disappointment of new head coach Freddie Kitchens, Odell Beckham Jr. showed up to their 3-day mandatory minicamp yesterday, catching passes, doing wide receiver type things. Baker Mayfield was certainly happy to finally see him at camp, said the duo will kick into overdrive soon. See, what is the ceiling for this combo for Baker and OBJ this season?
Well, this is the thing that I think that people who don't really know the Browns are just a team on a sheet of paper, and they just think it's OBJ. They just think Baker Mayfield because they get a lot of attention. But they really have some quality players. First, it starts with their offensive line. Last year, one of the first things Freddie Kitchens did when he took over as the offensive coordinator, they started running the football. And their offensive line started knocking some people back. And one of the reasons why Baker was so successful was not that he's just such a great thrower of the football at such a young age, but they gave him protection. He wasn't getting hit. You guys been doing this show long enough to know these young kids, they have to adapt to the physicality of the league, and it prevents a lot of them from being successful. Baker has all the tools, but they started being physical, and they have Njoku, the tight end, Jarvis Landry. I believe, especially, he's the perfect fit. He's like Clay and Steph. He is not always going to be a deep threat. Odell Beckham is more of the deep threat, but them matched together makes them a rare group as far as pass catchers. They have two quality running backs. Nick Chubb, second year out of University of Georgia, is a pure runner of the football. And I believe maybe the acquisition of the offseason in Kareem Hunt, getting him for half the season, man, they're explosive. So when I talk about OBJ, if I talk about Baker Mayfield, I have to do it in the totality of everything else they have around it. This is the most talented team that OBJ's been on. It's the most talented quarterback that he's ever caught passes from. So I'm not expecting just from the numbers, but I'm expecting where his body is. There's a reason why he wasn't at the OTAs. He wanted to work on some things. You have to remember, he's gotten hurt the last 2 years. He wanted to work on some things as far as his body before he started getting on the field and have full physical contact as far as developing as a football player. So that's why he took this first year. He would have done that with the Giants because at this point in his career, he believes it's really important for his foundation. And he doesn't want to get hurt like he has, which has ended his last couple seasons. So I look for high expectations. It's not in 1,400 yards. It's not in 15 touchdowns. He's going to have double digits in touchdowns. He's going to have at least 1,200 yards. But as an offense, they're going to be one of the better offenses that we have in the NFL, and Baker and OBJ will be a huge part of that.
And because of the things you mentioned, that they have a legitimate offensive line, which for a long time, there was a time when the Browns, the only good thing they had was their offensive line. And then when they started getting some talented players, the offensive line, aside from Joe Thomas, was holding them back. Now they have a legitimate offensive line. You mentioned the running core, the two running backs that they will have by the end of the season, and Njoku at tight end, Jarvis Landry, because you cannot just key on Odell Beckham, and because Baker showed us in the second half of last season that he is already ready to be, at the very least, an above-average NFL quarterback, what do I think the ceiling is for him? I think the ceiling for this duo is to be the most effective and productive quarterback-wide receiver combo in football. It's hard to be that if that's the only thing the opposition has to worry about. It's hard to be that if the quarterback is constantly under duress. But you mentioned Baker's the most talented quarterback Odell's ever played with. Odell's played in 59 career games. In NFL history, no one has more catches. He's second most in yards through that time, and he's third most touchdowns. Now, I know the numbers are all inflated in this era, but still, he's done that with, in my mind, below average quarterback play every step of his career. And so what could you don't want...
And a limited running game.
A limited running game and a limited offensive line. He's done it in the hardest circumstances, where every game, how did you stop the Giants' offense? Contain the kid with the yellow hair, and the offense goes to die. Now, if a team says, we're going to double Odell everywhere he goes, we're not going to let him beat us, well, Jarvis Landry makes $16 million a year for a reason. They drafted Nick Chubb at the top of the second round for a reason. They have other ways to beat you. I think that will play directly into Odell's hands, and I think it also will, he will have more fun playing football this year than he's had since LSU. Now, LSU, they didn't have great quarterback play, but he did have Jarvis. They had talented wide receivers. He went out there with a fully loaded gun, so to speak. He hasn't been able to do that with the Giants. I think that will pay enormous dividends for Odell and for the Browns offense this season.
How long will it take for Baker and Odell to get their timing right, to get on the right page, on the same page? Freddie Kitchens has been very vocal about trying to get this offense to these players as quickly as possible. It's why he made a couple of comments about wishing that Odell was at the involuntary, the OTAs a little earlier. But now that he's there, how long before you actually see these guys get their chemistry going?
You hear a lot of NFL players talk about the season being a marathon, the overall endurance, but it's really like running a mile. And if you run a mile on a track that's 400 meters, it's 4 laps. And the offseason pretty much goes like this. You can do whatever you want them first 3 laps. But when they hit that bell lap, that's that last lap. And that's what the OTAs in June minicamp is. It's the organization, the coaching staff telling you, this is the last lap before you get ready for the season. You need to get your stuff in order. So now they need to be able to spend quality time together in the next 2 months trying to work out what Julio Jones and Matt Ryan do every offseason. You won't hear about it. They just get together. He calls Julio up. Man, let's go down to a local high school and let's play catch. The greatest combinations that we've ever seen. They spend time together on and off the field, and that's what Freddie Kitchens is talking about. And for those, Jenna, Freddie Kitchens, those who are worried, you should be worried. Passing the football, it's an art form, but it takes time, and you can't just grant yourself, oh, we're going to pass all these steps. They have to be able to spend time together on the football field. In the next 2 months, it becomes very, very important. January, you can do whatever you want. February, do whatever you want. March, you can start training. When it's come June, it's time for football players to start training, doing football things. That's quarterbacks and wide receivers getting together so we can work out those little things that when you get 60,000 people in a stadium and people are yelling and throwing everything, that you have worked those things out. We can't wait for the Browns. It's not about the Super Bowl. It's about getting into the playoffs, playing in very important games, and them being able to show up. 3rd and long, everyone knows where's the kid with the blonde hair, and they're able to connect on it. But this time you spend together beforehand, that is the time that you get paid off during the regular season, Nick.
It's 92 days till the regular season starts, which means right around 60 days till the start of training camp. In these next 60 days, to Chris's point, Odell and Baker, I expect them to do, and they need to do, what we have seen the most productive quarterback-wide receiver combos do in years past. Julian and Tom hang out together. And by hang out together, they practice together. So one of the reasons Aaron Rodgers was upset when Jordy Nelson was released was that was one of his off-season guys. Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, that's what they're doing. You mentioned Julio and Matt. We have a bunch of really, really elite-level combos. Odell's never had that that, I don't want to say courtesy, that luxury, pardon me, to where he's always been the elite end of a semi-elite combo because of the limitations at the quarterback. But now he also has to get up to speed learning Baker's mechanics, learning the tendencies of Baker that are different from Eli Manning.
And to be an elite receiver, it's very important, the mental aspect. OBJ must understand this is a talented team. I'm not going to have 150 yards every game. Every third down, they're not going to throw to me. So the thing that I'm going to watch, I believe they'll work out the football part, but it's time to step up from a mature standpoint. Be a leader. Be able to celebrate other people having success, because this offense, there's so many players, you have to be unselfish. And it starts with the kid with the blonde hair, Jenna.
Let's see how he does. Coming up, will LeBron...
Like some doubt there.
You think? Speaking of mature, will LeBron force a trade if the Lakers don't land Anthony Davis? That is next on First Things First.